Assalamu alaikum and good evening, and welcome to this very special program today. Today we're focusing on the devastating earthquake that has hit both Turkey and Syria. Over 41,000 lives have been lost, and the number is still rising as the rescue operation is now going to body recovery as opposed to any hopes of finding anybody else alive. Today's program, I have two special guests with me. To my left is Professor Debarachi. He's reading at Christchurch, Canterbury University, and also my guest is Ozgur Chinar, who is a professor at Greenwich Law School College. So they're here with me today to express also their concern for what has happened, during the earthquake. Magnitudes of 7.7 and 7.6 on the Richter scale were measured devastatingly. So many lives disrupted, over 17 million people displaced, and where the temperatures are so cold, below freezing. How are those who find themselves luckily alive able to survive? The DEC has started a campaign, a fundraising campaign, and I have a short message from the CEO, NTV, Sabrina. So before we carry on with the program, could we just play the short message from Sabrina Hussain, NTV CEO?
At NTV, we're very saddened by what happened in Syria and Turkey. As you know, NTV always tries to support the society around us. This time, we're partnering with Disasters Emergency Committee in this horrific incident in Turkey and Syria. Please do come along and work with NTV and DEC to support those people who has been suffering badly.
Throughout this evening's program, we will be running the DEC appeal across the screen. Please do donate. For those who, of course, we feel for everybody, whatever the tragedy is, but this one came while people were asleep. This one came with timings of just over a minute, not even a warning, not even a chance to even collect your loved ones, let alone belongings. Everything lost: houses, homes, family, husbands lost wives, wives lost, husbands, lost children, lost parents, children are orphaned. There is so much tragedy amongst the inspiring stories of people who have survived. Because of their faith, that is one thing that's shone through in all of this. But today, I'm going to just call upon one of my guests, Dr. Debarachi here, and ask him to say a little bit, because he was in Turkey for 7 years previously studying, and love for Turkey has brought him to the program this evening. So Dr. Debarachi, please, can you expand on?
Thank you. And first of all, I really give a big thanks to NTV to arrange this type of program. And thanks to you to hosting this program and giving the awareness of community, especially to see what is happening in Turkey and Syria. And as you said, actually, I was in Turkey 1993, from 1993 to 2000 as a student. And actually that is my, I think, fall in love from that type of period that I was a student, and being, as an engineer from that country. So I feel like this earthquake is actually belongs with us, or belongs with our country, because every habitat we lost, I think that is actually our loss. And it is unbelievable feelings, and I really cannot say, and I think this type of things hopefully not to see again as our lifetime. So thanks again. to
No,
bring
thank
me here.
you. Thank you for coming on, because, as we were in a meeting last week, and we both, just had so much concern that we needed not just to raise awareness and to, come out to the community. Dr. Chowdhury Professor Chowdhury is very well known amongst the community, and, just as this was unfolding, we were just very, very concerned and thought we need to do something. So hence today's program. Now my next guest is Professor Ozgur Chinar. He is a professor of law at the Greenwich University. Please, can I just ask you, he's of Turkish descent and is a Turkish national?
Yep.
And of course, this hits home very, very much to the heart, and we thank you for coming in today, because I am sure there are loved ones and there are people that who are directly involved either in the rescue or in the event itself. Thank you so much for coming. Please.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting. Thank you very much for organizing this program, and we really appreciate for the NTV and you are hosting this program. It's just amazing. I wish I came this program and the NTV for different occasions, but it is quite, I have to say, it's quite sad. And yes, I was born and raised in Turkey, and I moved to UK 20 years ago. But of course, and Turkey is my country, and where I am from originally, and I have family, friends, and all these people, and it is so shocking, I have to say, and it's so sad. And to be honest with you, since the earthquake, it's very difficult for me, to eat something or sleep. It's just because I have plenty of friends there, and plenty of friends. I mean, my core family is okay, but and I have friends, and and I have really good friends from Kahramanmaraş, Antep, Kilis, Hatay, all these earthquake regions. Yeah, and I still keep in touch with them, and so when I lost a couple of friends and they pass away, and it's quite sad. And there are other friends, they are in a very difficult situation at the moment, I have to say, because as you said at the beginning of your introduction, your speech, the weather is so cold.
Yes.
It is, and some places, Kahramanmaraş and Gaziantep is -10, -10, and degrees. It's so cold, and people, they still sleep in the car if they are lucky, or outside on the pavement, on the road, wherever they find any place. And with the cold weather, and the kids, it's just there are lots of challenges, difficulties.
And it's still very dangerous as well, because
it is.
the buildings are still very insecure, and even those who are risking their lives to save people, or even to do the body retrieval, they put their lives at risk, and every single day since this has happened. And I'm really, we really feel so much for Syria and Turkey. There are many reasons why, because not only do we have a heritage and a friendship that goes back, way back, but also because this is so important to us as Muslims, and as the Ummah, and even on a humanitarian level, whether you're a Muslim or not, the fact that the humanitarian crisis that's unfolded, it does, it just really does get to the heart. It really does hit you really hard. You mentioned about the -10 degrees, so we're thinking, clothing, blankets, and food. I know a lot of the charities, particularly from the DEC Disaster Committee, is offering cooked food, because there is no facilities to cook the food. There is no there is nowhere for temporary shelter. I understand that a lot of, in some areas, they've been able to be bussed away, but that in itself still leaves trauma.
It is indeed, and I have to say, because the problem is, all right, and more than 10 major cities been affected in Turkey, and also more than 3-4 major cities in Syria, and it's quite big area we are talking about. I mean, the previously, yes, there was an earthquake, for example, one in 1999 near Istanbul, and but this earthquake was in a particular area, okay, and yes, it affected millions of people, because Istanbul was the one of the place was affected, but the earthquake was not in the middle of Istanbul, or it was around Istanbul. So, but this earthquake is different. Not even one earthquake we are talking about, and actually, 2 big earthquake is one of them is 7.7 is the first one. The second one was 7.6, and then 2 further earthquakes, and the same area. It was over 6 magnitude. And then following earthquakes. And as far as I know, as of today, I think it's more than 800 small earthquakes happen since the first one,
Yes.
So basically, I mean, recently I spoke to one of my friends. He lives in Kahramanmaraş, and he's saying, every like half an hour there is an earthquake, and a minor one, but still you can really feel it, And with this, and every half an hour, can you imagine how they're going to go inside in their house? Even, for example, my friend has got a really strong building, and they nothing to do with his house, but he's very traumatic. And he has got kids and family, mother, and he's saying, I can't sleep. Yes, I know my building, my apartment is very strong, but still, it is quite traumatic, and I can't really sleep. I can't go inside the building. You see the problem, and I mean, it's just.
I mean, just to give you a little bit of a scale of the size of the areas affected, it's equivalent to the whole of the UK being affected by an earthquake. So, if you can imagine that kind of area that is, that's been completely just demolished in a sense, and the other tremors that is happening, that those who are surviving are suffering from PTSD. Even if they weren't directly affected, then even those that are there that live nearby who managed to flee in time, they, it wasn't in that area, they're still going to suffer a lot from PTSD.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I do, feel that it's something that it's going to be a long-term rehabilitation. It's not going to be something that's going to go over within a short space of time.
Yeah, and not only that, actually, that's the one to addition. Like this is the trauma. Obviously, this disaster is suddenly happened. The sad thing is, obviously, if you look at the Syria and Turkey side, obviously we are mostly talking about Turkey, and I'm really feel very sorry for Syrian side, the Idlib, especially, I think biggest part. There one is very poor. The area is a really drastically poor area. Plus I think international level and local level, they don't have that enough support. And obviously I saw the other nation and support other who are actually supporting. So I want to really requesting most of the supporter who are volunteer, and thanks to all disaster management, DSC, and all organization who are actually supporting. I think they have to be think about also Idlib in the same time.
I know there's been some difficulties, obviously, because of Syria and the conflict that has happened. There is a lot on the ground already, but not prepared for this kind of disaster. Of the devastation that the earthquakes are not only to buildings and the like, but also to the cost of human life. And we are here again just to let you know that, we all want to stand by both Turkey and Syria during this crisis, and, to help them in whichever way possible. If I could please go back to Oscar, please, if you could tell me, what do you feel now is the most necessary things that need to be on the ground, by not only for those working on the ground, but for international communities to perhaps assist? What would be the best way for them to assist?
Stop and search pretty much is the unfinished. Okay, so, and what we really need, and of course there was a huge donations from since the first day. Okay, but I'm constantly in touch with Turkish charities, and what they really need at the moment, the blanket, I know, and they need generator, to produce electricity, and also tents, so they are the things, and they really need. Otherwise, and I know people, they were quite generous, all these clothing, dry food and everything, it was pretty much they collected and sent to Turkey. But these 3 items is the urgent items, what they need at the moment.
So let's recap. So that is blankets, tents, and generators. So, the more we can do, the more money that can be raised can help to provide for those things. If there are companies out there who feel that they can assist, please do get in touch. We will put you in touch with either the DEC or somewhere directly, so that you can donate those items. So please do, once again, there is a code on the screen. If you just scan that code, you will be able to donate. And then thank you. But again, we're looking at food, just the main things of living, and also medical care.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's as Professor Shenar said, like in these 3 things. I think because it is like a basic need at the moment. It doesn't need any luxuries, anything. It's all are actually the basic need, like a food, cloth, any kind of sheltering thing. So basically, we both actually did Shams put a lot of thing collection, and also people actually donated, people are giving. So many people are doing, I think, thanks to everybody. And this type of disaster is not only depends on charity. I think it also the individual support also needed. I do believe, like in my personal connection is actually more than 10 people I connected, and I try my best and still doing talking people and trying to, because every help, every single things I think is really affected and impact for somebody's life. So thanks to everybody. I think that is the request to everybody. Whatever people can do, even 1 pound. I think 1 pound is Turkish is 21 lira, which will be really big money. So, absolutely. And also affected area, the Karamansh, Maras and those areas, I've been a few times. These are actually, if you compare with Bangladesh, and because it's NTV is actually belongs with Bengali community mostly. And think about like in the village, some villages, whereas there is a connectivity also not that strong. So, yes. I mean, like, people are living is very below the standard anyway, that I can say. So think about that, or think about in that people need our help, and I think do generous and give something will be affected.
Yes. Impact. Fine. You're right. And also, of course, if there are any volunteers wants to go to Turkey and to help, especially in the medical sport, it'd be great. And because there are more than 100,000 injured people, yes. And some of the hospitals collapse, and so we do need the people, doctor, nurses, or healthcare assistants. So I mean, for example, the institution where I work in the University of Greenwich, and our vice chancellor, she is very generous. She opened all the doors, and we are working on one project at the moment, and we are planning to train and initially the 20 people in the UK and as a healthcare assistant, and we're going to send them to Turkey to help doctors and nurses. And because feeding, for example, injured people, you can't just feed. You need to be trained. You need to know how you're gonna, for example, dress this person, or to take care of, or emotionally or mentally support these people, and you need to have certain trainings. So my institution, for example, is going to give all this trainings to the 20 people initially, and then we are going to gradually increase the
That's
number
wonderful.
very
That's
soon,
wonderful.
and we're going to send them to Turkey. And if you are already trained and you know how to support medically or and mentally, and definitely you can get in touch with the Turkish authorities, Turkish embassy. They are the one coordinating this, and you are more than welcome in Turkey. And we need that kind of people.
We've had quite a few inquiries myself from teachers who want to go out and help with the young children, because getting them back to some kind of normality is helpful mentally for them, because it's very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is really one of the another, like, not only food and care, because as you mentioned beginning of the program, that husband lost, wife lost, and there are a lot of orphan children. So yes. That in UK actually, that those are teachers, and they are really, I think they are very great for giving a care and love and sympathy, empathy. I think this is also part of a kind of food, because when people have those type of hugging, giving a lot of kind of sensation that they can hope to live, because yes. They lost mom, they lost brother, they lost sister. That you saw a lot of yes. video clip that the brother pushing sister and sister die, but brother alive. So this sort of thing will be trauma, and I think this need to be helped. Yeah.
I think the trauma, and I know you'll agree with me because you're both in education, the trauma goes far beyond just the human need of being able to eat and sleep and stay warm, saving lives, because there's a lot to do with post this. So I mean, this I don't see is going to end very soon, with 17 million people being displaced, rehousing, starting lives again, and as you mentioned, many orphans. I mean, what do you think? I'll go to you, Oscar, if I may. What do you think we can do in the future to, or the government can do? Is we know that there are regulations in place, but how do you think it'll be possible to try to minimize this kind of without warning?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a natural disaster. We understand that,
but it is natural disaster. And also the scientists actually, they have been telling there was going to be an earthquake in this area for the last 3 years, and everybody knew there was going to be. All right, so I think in order to prevent from the future very sad occasions like this, and definitely, and we have to be really careful. We need to make sure the implementation of the regulations must be in a good level, sufficient level. Okay, at the moment, and I mean, of course, I can't talk about Syria, but I am from Turkey. I know Turkish law. And I have to say there are regulations yes. in place, but I think the implementation of this regulation is very problematic, and we have to be really careful. And it's not just about the people they build these, constructions, and we cannot only blame them. All right, there are other stakeholders. Yes. And I think they have to take the responsibility of that. And I'm sure, Turkish authorities, they're going to take the necessary actions quickly, and they're going to punish these people.
They already have. I think some warrants have gone out. But, as we said, it's not about a blame game right now. It's about tackling the disaster. Absolutely. But in the long run, the security, being able to go to sleep at night without fear, is going to be something that for 17 million people, it's not going to be as simple as laying down your head anymore on the pillow, because of that fear, because of that PTSD, because of that experience. So, I'm absolutely agree with you that yes, in the long run, there has to be more. And that's not to do with regulation. There has to be more of a conscience to those who are building these, to make sure that they follow.
Enforcement mechanisms much be more, stronger, and so of course I totally agree with you. It's not the blaming somebody, it's not the right time, and also we have to be really careful about the future earthquakes, because Turkey mainly is in the earthquake area. Okay, so and now all the scientists, they are saying there's going to be another earthquake in the northeast part of Turkey soon. And there's another one, the major one is they are expecting in the Istanbul area. And especially Istanbul, it's the biggest city in Turkey, and almost 20 million people is living there. And the consequences could be really, really heavy, serious. Therefore, and it is time to take the action and to make sure and we do everything is in the right level and sufficient level. Okay, so and but at the moment, of course, it's more than 17 million people have been affected. And when you say it's about the trauma, and yes, I mean, I can tell you this trauma, it is impossible to get rid of it. Okay. Oh, and I do have friends and relatives that have been affected in 1999 in the earthquake near Istanbul. And still after 20 years, more than 20 years, and I know I do have relatives and they still, and they fresh these traumatic syndromes they have. Yes. It just
I think not the trauma. If you look at the also like the disability, like those people actually lost their eyes, leg, feet. Absolutely. So I think the government and social justice should be there, because we just donating for short period of time. I think we need to be long run to look at those people as well. And as you mentioned, like in the management of those buildings that's collapsing, and as Professor Osgood said, like bigger and more bigger artwork may come and occur, but that is obviously absolutely, God knows, and we don't know exactly what happened. But I think that if you look at like 100 years or 50 years ago, most of the building actually developed 50 years ago or 100 years ago. So the construction on that period of time was totally different than now. So I'm sure that from now, those people are going to develop a building. I think they should follow the building regulation, absolutely, and which will be helping their next generation, themselves, and the community as well. So overall, I think the government obviously there is no doubt about it that the government regulation is not there. But the problem is, as we all understood, that we don't use it. Yeah. And we want to be always bypass. So when you bypass, that is actually the disaster we can see at the moment.
I mean, Japan is a great example. Japan, there are always earthquakes in Japan, but there's not really major disasters or people, they don't die in earthquakes in Japan because the buildings there, comply with the regulations and up-to-date standards. And unfortunately, of course, I can't generalize, and there are some buildings absolutely was fine, nothing happened. But most of the buildings, and I do have the numbers, more than 66,000 buildings just in Turkey has been affected. And Syria, we don't even know the numbers yet. Okay, so probably with the Syria, it's more than 100,000 buildings been affected by the earthquake. And in Turkey, only in Turkey, more than 12,000 buildings collapsed. Yes. So, and the question is why these buildings being collapsed. Means, yes, there are regulations. I can tell you as a lawyer, there are regulations in place, but means some people, they don't really comply with these regulations. Okay, this is the problem. And people, of course, they do business when they build these houses, but the conscience, is very important. Yes. At the end of the day, when you go to bed, when you sleep with your conscience. This is the things what I really believe about. Yes, the law is on one side, absolutely fine, but your conscience, how these people, they built these buildings, all this construction, now how they're going to sleep. How they're going to sleep.
Absolutely. I'm going to draw your attention back to the DEC appeal and the code that's on the screen. Please do just, you can photograph that code and we'll give you direct you straight to the donation page. Please do take that on. Once again, I would refer you to that. As you say, it's not just a short term, and with just only 1 minute, just over a minute, when all this occurred, when people were sleeping, and then again in the midday for the second one, and as you said, 4 and more. It really does just hit you in the heart to think that so many people who've lost their loved ones, their children. I couldn't possibly imagine ever wanting to be in that position. So, compassion where it's due. As we were saying, conscience, because conscience is a big part of making things right. As we move forward, things have to be right. And as you said, Dr. Debrachi, that if we are going to look at this, then we don't look at it just the short term, that we have to look at what are the consequences from this, what are people actually facing, whether it's rehabilitation, whether it's amputation, whether it's just the rehabilitation of their lives. It's not even just losing a limb or your sight or your hearing. It's literally putting your life back together, and having the wider community out there to support them will mean the world to them. So please, let's show them that we are there for them. Let's show them that we do care.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
if you are a group of either medical professionals, teaching professionals, carers, people who want to be able to help in any way they can.
Any group, like even restaurant people, those are, because food is also important. So I'm sure that any kind of group can support anything will be helpful.
Absolutely. I have to stress, though, please, it's very difficult to go to those affected areas right now. There aren't the tents available, so please don't rush. Make sure that you are going with the agreements of the consulate, Turkish consulate, and also with the charity, because what you don't want to do is, and I know it's all heartfelt, but you don't want to be just going out there and become a burden or an encumbrance to others. So please, it's just as much about your safety as it is about giving aid. We want you to please come forward if you can offer any of the things that have been mentioned this evening: blankets, generators, particularly generators, because it's very important, and tents, because it is -10 in some areas, and this. So I want to just say that please look at the screen once more, and please do make your pledges or donate money if you can, and if there's anything you can do. So as we're going to shortly come to the end of the show, can I please ask Professor Ajker if you would give me your final remarks, please, and then I'll go to.
My final remark is going to be, it's time to help these people urgently, what they really need. And so thank you very much, and for all your generosity donations. Really appreciate it. And then the second final point is going to be, and we have to take the necessary measures to make sure, and we will not have that kind of occasion one more time. We can't afford, seriously. I mean, the enough is enough, and we lost enough people in the last 20-25 years. It's not the first earthquake we had in Turkey. Previously, we had another one in Izmir. Before that, in Istanbul, near Istanbul. So, we have to learn. We have to change our mentality. We need to get the earthquake culture, and we need to also know how to react against the earthquakes. And the authorities, they have to act, and they have to take the necessary actions quickly. And we need to recover these people, and we need to look at the future. Okay.
Dr. Debrachi, please.
Thank you. I think 2-3 things actually I want to mention here. First of all, when we say donation, actually we don't asking like people have to donate big amount, and I think it should be donate gradually, like in 5-10 pounds one day, and again 5-10. But as I said, this consequence of this disaster will not finish 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It take really ages. So we want to see, like, and obviously included me, everybody, if we can stop one day tea or coffee, even £5 is really affected. I request to everybody, and all people who are actually volunteer, who are already there, as you mentioned, obviously there is a policy and procedure from embassy and the government. So they should follow that thing and should go there and helping, because they have a different sort of people are actually working for them. And I think Red Cross and all people are there. So if we donate, I think this money goes to there and they will be helping in the locally. So that will be one. And finally, obviously, giving big thanks to DHC, like, and who are actually doing those things and helping people. That is really unbelievable. I saw their work and they are doing very well job. And requesting to not only Turkey, also the Syria. I know that Syria name was not come in many people's mouth, but I think we equally to helping both nation in the same time, because Syrian people are more poorer than Turkish people.
Thank you.
So thanks to also NTV.
Thank you so much.
Both of you.
Thank you very much for joining me in the studio this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And to all my viewers, thank you. I want you to, once again, whilst it's still on the screen, please do take that opportunity and that chance to donate. Thank you.